Here we go.
Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're well. You amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Friday. That's it, baby. It's Friday. You're looking absolutely amazing. You must have had a fantastic week because you look like you have. And anyway, this little video here is just going to be a little bit of an Idaho 4 case reset. Okay? A little bit of a reset. Because what I fear in the Idaho 4 case is that it's turned in to... It's almost like it's no longer about Maddie, Ethan, Kaylee, and Xana. It's not about them anymore. It's now like a celebrity death match between Brian Kohberger and Steve Gonsalves. Steve Gonsalves is a guy who is a parent of Kaylee Gonsalves, one of the 4 victims in the Idaho 4 tragedy. And he's in pain. His family are in pain. And they go through these stages of grief. And he seems to be stuck on, by his own definition of wrath. And he's focusing that on Brian Kohberger. And then you've got the people who, they're supportive of the constitutional rights that people have fought to have in the United States. To have the right to face your accusers, to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt to be guilty of a crime that you're being accused of doing. But what this has turned into a media song and dance, because it was decided that there would be a gag order put on everything. So the public wouldn't have access to everything. And generally this is done to uphold the integrity of a case, to protect the people around it, to protect them, and again, to uphold the integrity of the investigation, to prevent what is actually happening. And in fact, I believe that the gag order itself assisted in, or was even the catalyst of, what the Idaho 4 case has turned into, which is a descent into chaos. This recent Nancy Grace and Steve Gonsalves attack on Brian Kohberger, because that's what it was an outright assault. And I know what will happen later on down the line. Say if Brian Kohberger was found guilty of this crime, then people will turn round and say that was warranted. That was warranted. And they'll attack people like me for having the stones to come in front of you and say, that's fucking wrong. Irrelevant of anything, that sort of behaviour is wrong. And we can't go down that route. Because what we're doing, that is incitement there. That is incitement to violence. That is incitement to execute someone who has yet to go through the process. Now, irrelevant of what people think, how they can look at evidence placed before them, or a lack of evidence put before them, and come to a conclusion, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I believe that Brian Kohberger could be innocent. It doesn't matter that any of you out there who believe that he absolutely did the crime believe that. It doesn't matter. What should matter is that there is a process set in place that is protected by constitutional rights, and this guy has a right to go through that. Now, I appreciate fully that Steve Gonsalves is in pain, but he is not the only person who is in pain. Anybody who has some connection to these 4 victims, and in fact Brian Kohberger, will be in pain. They will be going through stuff. They will be suffering in some way, whether that be mentally, whether it be financially. There will be pain, there will be suffering. But this case, the Idaho 4 case, is not the Steve Gonsalves show. It's not the aforementioned celebrity death match between Brian Kohberger and Steve Gonsalves. This is about a high-profile case where there is an accused man who is being accused of killing 4 students in their home off campus in Moscow, Idaho. Now, every single piece of information that we have access to that is right and that is proper is in the court documentation, which you can go to and you can go and look at it yourself. I will put the link to it in the description of this video, and I will also put it in the pinned comment. So if you want to follow the actual court docs, you can do so. But the other information beyond that, beyond these documents that are supplied to you by the likes of News Nation, provided by the likes of Court TV, Dateline, Steve Gonsalves and the aforementioned Gonsalves Army, the information that is being provided by these people is skewed, and a lot of the time it is not factual, and in fact some of it is out and out lies. And many people around this case are basing their interpretation of the case, basing how they feel about Bryan Kohberger, basing how they feel about Steve Gonsalves even at this time. They're basing it on what is out here now that really has no relevance to the trial. The only thing that has relevance to the trial is what happens inside the courtroom when the trial commences. And it commences on the 11th of August 2025 and it will run until the 7th of November 2025. And it's what happens in that period of time that should be what matters. The facts that are provided by the prosecution to support their accusations, and any rebuttal that comes forward from the defense on behalf of Bryan Kohberger. That should be what is important. And at the end of the day, there should be a conclusion made in that period of time and a judgment made by the jury who is selected. We're not the jury. You're not the jury. Steve Gonsalves isn't the jury. This is state versus Bryan Kohberger. It's not public versus Bryan Kohberger. It's not media versus Bryan Kohberger. It's not Steve Gonsalves and the Gonsalves family against Bryan Kohberger. Doesn't work that way. I know some people feel a certain way about the situation. They feel a certain way about the crime. They feel a certain way about Bryan. They feel a certain way about Steve Gonsalves. But let's have a big reset and realise what is important. Because there are things that are important that you perhaps have forgotten about amongst all of this. And that is that we are humans. And our grandparents and great-grandparents fought and lost their lives and went through many things to obtain many rights that many of us take absolutely for granted. And sometimes we do so when we feel it benefits us. But does it really benefit us on the grander scheme of things? Does it benefit us if we have a legal system that can be manipulated and bought and sold to the highest bidder? Does it help if a jury can be swayed if they're sold a sad story? Does that make it better that somebody could lose their life and be executed to appease somebody who believes that someone did a crime and they could indeed be wrong? And a jury could be in fear of saying what they want to say for fear of reprisals from those who have made it very clear how they feel about the accused. A legal system should operate without being affected by any external source. And like I say, the only thing that should matter is what happens in those four walls in that duration of time, the trial itself. Can that happen? Because this is the concern. If it cannot, and there has been so much damage, and I've said this before, Bryan Kohberger could be guilty. He could be guilty. And he could walk. The flip side of that coin is, he could be innocent. And he could be executed. Just to make certain people happy. Is that right? Let me know down below. I'll catch you all in the next one.